Hi everyone. So today I just wanted to talk about some cons that kind of go along with homeschooling. I think sometimes we fall into this trap of only spinning things that we do in a positive light, and that's something that I've seen, like, as being a homeschool parent in general, is wanting to spin homeschooling only in a positive light, only sharing the positive things. And I think maybe that comes from feeling a little bit defensive about it, or that's just the general feeling that I get sometimes from other homeschoolers, is some of us tend to feel defensive about our choice to homeschool. And that's reasonable because, sometimes homeschoolers get a little bit more criticism than maybe people who send their kids to public school or private schools or whatever. We get a lot more questions like, how do you know you can do this? How are you qualified to teach your kids? How can you keep them on level? How can you meet their needs? You haven't been trained to do this, and all sorts of questions like that. So sometimes we get a little defensive. I personally have been really lucky in that department. I haven't received much criticism, at least not in person. I mean, who knows what people privately think. But maybe I just come across as someone who doesn't really care that much. So I haven't gotten a lot of criticism, if any. So I've been really lucky in that department. So to go along with that, I think sometimes we do fall into a trap of only talking about homeschool in a positive light because we're worried about getting criticized by others. If we share the things that are less than pleasant, or we share a struggle, that's definitely happened to me. I've shared homeschool struggles and then been told, oh, well, then maybe you shouldn't do it. Maybe you should send them to public school. But, there's plenty of struggles that go along with public school. And I think it's kind of unfair that I remember when my oldest daughter was in public school and I would say, oh, I really don't like this, or this wasn't really good, or this made me unhappy, or my daughter was really upset, and it was kind of like, oh, maybe you should talk to the teacher, or that's just kind of the way it is. But sharing homeschool struggles, people tend to be like, well, then maybe you just shouldn't do it. That said, I do want to share some homeschool cons, things that I have found difficult to deal with, and things that you should definitely keep in mind if you are thinking of homeschooling, because there are cons to it. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect way to educate. There is no perfect way to educate. There's going to be huge cons to sending your kid to a public school, or a private school, or a charter school, or homeschool. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be easy, no matter what you do. So that said, I'm going to go on and name some things that I have found personally hard and maybe unique to homeschool in and of itself. The first thing is isolation. It can be really isolating to homeschool, especially if all the friends and all the people that you know send their kids away to do school. So private, charter, public, whatever. That can be hard because you don't really have anyone to bounce ideas off of. One thing that you can do is join a co-op or find other homeschoolers. I personally haven't done that. I mean, I know a few people that homeschool, but I don't have this huge community of people that I can lean on and really bounce ideas off of. That hasn't bothered me so much. It just gets hard when I have a struggle, or I have troubles, or I'm questioning myself and I don't have this huge community of people that I can turn to, or I can't turn to my friends that are my friends in real life, but on social media, for example, I can't always say, hey, does anyone else have this trouble? Because, there just are less of us. There's less homeschoolers, so it can be hard and isolating a little bit to homeschool. Now, the next thing that kind of goes along with that is socialization. And this is like a hot button word for homeschoolers. I know a lot of homeschoolers get really defensive when it comes to socialization anytime someone brings up that word or that idea. And to be perfectly honest, it is harder to socialize your kids or get them into social situations because, especially for me, I mean, I'm speaking from personal experience. I can't speak for every homeschooler, but I live way out in the country in a rural setting, so it's hard enough as is. I have that going against us. So when the colder months roll around, winter and stuff, and you just become even more enclosed in your space, for me, it can get really hard to get my kids out there and doing group activities and making sure they get enough social interaction. There have been times where my kids have come to me and said, we really want to play with other kids, you know, we're bored, we're lonely, and that's hard. That's a huge struggle as a homeschool parent, and it brings a lot of guilt with it. You know, am I doing the right thing? I have a lot of good memories of being in public school and being surrounded by my peers. I can't speak to whether that's the healthiest way to socialize. I just know that I have a lot of good memories from it. I have bad memories from it too. And that just goes to show there's no perfect way to do this. There's pros and cons to each as far as the socializing goes. Homeschool kids, or at least mine, no, they don't get to be as social as public school kids. And, you know, I guess the upside of that is they don't get burnt out. Whenever they see other kids, they're very quick to jump in and say, hey, and start playing. And, you know, they want to play. So they're very quick to jump on those opportunities. I don't know if they would be as quick to jump on those opportunities if they were public schooled. Maybe they would see other kids on the weekend or something, like at a public space or a park or something like that, and maybe they wouldn't jump into playing right away because they get to do it all week. So maybe they wouldn't get to meet as many new people. I don't know. That is a huge con, though, and it's something you have to prepare for and be willing to put yourself out there for your kids. That's hard for me to kind of have to go along with them and be with them while they're socializing. I can't just send them off to school and be like, well, you got to play with your friends all week, you're good. No, I have to be more involved, and that can be really hard. That's something that to think of definitely before you decide to homeschool. Another hard thing, another con that goes with homeschooling is you're educating in your home. And it can be really hard for you, I know it is for me, as a parent to focus on your child's education. When you're in the middle of your home, you just look around you and you see 1,000 other things you could be doing. There's the siren call of other chores. And it is so hard for me to know that my sink is full of dishes, to see my piles of laundry, to see our messy environment that we're in, you know, whatever mess is around me at that moment, and not be like, okay, God, you know, let's just hurry up and get this done so I can clean this mess. Or to keep putting off school because I'm like, if I can just get all this clean, then I'll be ready. That's really hard, and I think it's something that we have to let go of to a degree, and just, I guess, kind of treat homeschooling as a job, is something that you need to focus on, and you just can't do your chores. You know, you can't get your laundry done, you can't do those dishes, you can't clean out this closet right now. You're going to have to do it at the end of the day or on the weekend, you know, whenever you have your breaks, to do it then instead of pushing school aside, because that is what's most important, and that's a hard thing to let go of. I struggle with that all the time. Now, another thing that I have found personally hard is being my child's teacher. Because I've had that other experience of sending my oldest daughter to school, it was a really hard thing for me to hear how well she did in school and how well she behaved, and she listened so well and was so into helping, you know. And then being her teacher at home, I'm her mom also, so I don't get that same, I call it respect, but it's not really a disrespect issue. It's just that she's comfortable with me. Both my kids are. And that was hard. It still is hard knowing that if she was in school with a teacher, she would be listening to her teacher and she would be working diligently. Whereas at home, your child is way more apt to be like whiny and I don't want to do this and, you know, give you a hard time because you're their parent and they feel super comfortable. And that was hard. And there were times where I was like, if I was your teacher at public school, would you be saying and doing these things right now? And she would say, no, I would just listen. I would just listen and do this. And that's a struggle, knowing that your child would act more respectful to another adult. And that's just across the board. You know, we hear that all the time. Our kids are so great for other people, and then they're not so great for us. And that's just a comfort thing. And that doesn't end or become a non-issue when you put your school face on, whenever you decide to become your kid's teacher. That doesn't end, and that's a struggle. At least it was for me, knowing that maybe someone else could do a better job, or they would listen better for someone else. I mean, and that's just something to keep in mind, is being your child's teacher isn't going to look or be anywhere close to the same as if you were educating someone else's child or your child was being educated by someone else. Now, the last thing that I find super hard and a big con to homeschooling is staying motivated. You are in your home, you're in your comfort zone, you're surrounded by all your home distractions, your chores, your kids, you know, are super comfortable with you. Staying motivated to homeschool or to even move forward day to day can be hard. I definitely get stuck in ruts where I'm just like, I'm so tired, I'm burnt out, and I just want to scroll on my phone or get my chores done, you know, get dishes done and laundry and whatnot, and just send my kids outside to play. And just staying motivated is so difficult sometimes. And that's just, I mean, I think that just comes with the territory. I can't speak for people that go out and educate other people's kids, like public school teachers and whatnot. I'm sure they have their own struggles with staying motivated. But it is hard because technically, you know, you're not getting paid to educate your own children, and that can be hard to stay motivated. I hate to bring money into it, but I have noticed that when I did work outside the home, you know, you move on to a distraction-free environment where you're motivated to work, you know, you're getting paid, you're getting rewarded for it. You're not in the middle of your house with all these distractions if you work outside the home, and you don't have that same motivation, especially whenever your children are being difficult, or they're yelling and fighting, or, you know, you've been really excited about a project that you've put before them and they just received it so negatively, or they weren't appreciative at all for your hard work to try to make this a really fun learning experience for them. And that can be super hard to stay motivated whenever you get stuck in like this negative cycle, or feel like you've been doing the same thing day in and day out, and you just want to get it done. But those are just some of the things that I've come up with that I've noticed have been really difficult for me, and I feel like, you know, other people should know that it's not all sunshine and rainbows. And I wanted to just let other people know that it's not always fun and it's not always nice, but I think we can continue to do it. If you have a passion for educating your children for whatever reason, and you just keep trying and you're willing to learn, that you can definitely do it, and definitely, you know, stick with it if it's something that you want to do, or start doing it if it's something you really feel called to do. But I hope you guys enjoyed watching and gained a little something from this video. And let me know your personal homeschool struggles. I would be curious to hear about those, or if you've had similar ones that have popped up that were kind of unexpected, because of course I didn't know that these would be things that would be difficult, you know, prior to doing it. You never really know until you get into it. So please feel free to share your own struggles below. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all again really soon.